I am Pam, and y'all are watching episode 1 of Off the Hook. Today is March the 7th, and I decided that I'm going to start this new vlog, series, podcast, whatever you want to call it, to focus just on the projects that I'm currently working on that are yarn related. So that might be crochet, knitting, although I do not knit very well. I'm very much a newbie when it comes to knitting. But just for those that want to just watch videos that have to do with that type of stuff, and you don't want to see all the other crafting things that I'm doing, I thought I would name these Off the Hook, and then that way you'll know that that is specifically just yarn related video. Alright, so let's jump into it. Kind of want to give you a little look into the process that is my brain. There's really no rhyme, no reason to how I do things. I just kind of do them on a whim, and so I thought I'd share that with y'all because some of you may do the same thing, and this way you'll know you're not alone, or maybe I'm a rando and I'm the only one that does it this way. But anyway, it's okay. I don't mind if I am. So let me show y'all what I do. Okay, first off, when I am coming up with a pattern that is my own and uniquely mine, I write it down in a notebook. And it can be any notebook. It can be just a regular spiral notebook. It can be a special journal. It can be small. It can be large. Really whatever I have handy. So let me show y'all what I've got here. Little bitty. And then I just write down what I'm coming up with as I'm coming up with it. I know y'all can't see that it's written in pink, sorry. But anyway, this was a cardigan that I was working on, and as you see, this section didn't work. In fact, the whole cardigan didn't work. So I actually, after I got the front panel and the whole back and this panel done, because I didn't want to have to sew anything together, so I was doing it as a one piece. Started with one side, went all the way around. Anyway, and I kept trying it on the whole process, and it was working up great until I finished it and was getting ready to do the collar and the border. And then when I put it on, it just didn't hang right. So I unraveled the whole thing and used the yarn for something else. But anyway, I'll go back to this and figure out what I did wrong. And figure out why, I kind of know why it wasn't. I think it was because of the stitching that I was using. I think hold on, I think I actually have part of it still left. I haven't completely unraveled it. Sorry, I wasn't going to show this because I thought I actually pretty much unraveled the whole thing. Okay, but what I was doing is I was doing it so that I would have very little to do at the end when it was finished. All I would have to do was go around and do like a cleaning up edge. So I was trying to do the edging and the bottom cuff and everything all at the same time with the waffle stitch. And I love this color of yarn. It is called Nocturnal. And it's, I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby. Okay, so, as you see here, this was one panel. This is the top. And I was doing it so that this would just lay over. Then I was just going to go around and do a nice little edging around it. But this waffle pattern was pulling it in tight. And then I also had it going around the bottom. And then I was changing up the stitches and just making stuff up as I went. I'm sure there are names for these, but it was just giving it a little bit of texture and ribbing along the way. But anyway, so I know that part of the problem was that these stitches and these stitches, although it looks like it's hanging flat or straight, but as you can see here, even though my stitch count did not increase, you can see here that it's slanting downward. So, but anyway, yeah. So back to the drawing board for this one. Maybe one day I will get it. But I just wanted, and I was going to add sleeves to it. I just wanted it to be a big, oversized jacket. think I put cardigan on here, but you know, just jacket. I wasn't going to add any buttons, nothing. Just something that I could just wrap up in and go. But anyway, back to the drawing board for that one. But anyway, that's my process. I write stuff down. That had a lot of unraveling as I was working on it because, like I said, like row 12 here didn't work. Like once I got it done, it just didn't look right, so I unraveled. Anyway, so that's how I do it. This is where I go to make sure that my counts were right. So, but anyway, that's a process. So this was a small one, and as you see, I mean, these things get tossed around, so I have patterns everywhere. I really need to type them up and put them in the computer, but right now I have a few that are that way, but for the most part, they're all still written in little notebooks everywhere. Okay, so what else do I have? Same thing, bigger notebook, granny stitch hat. This is a granny stitch hat with a brim that I did. So it's kind of like a newsboy. I was trying to come up with something that I could sell in the springtime that wouldn't be super hot. I was making up several of these, but then all of our shows last year were canceled due to COVID concerns and restrictions, so I stopped making them. But anyway, it's just a little hat. Made them in all different sizes, so you can pull it or you can wear it beret style if you prefer. It's really just however you want to wear it. So anyway, so that was that. I don't have any of these done up in tutorials yet. Maybe I will. Okay, so this pattern has not been tested by anybody other than myself. And to be quite honest, when I get to the brim section, I just kind of wing it. And I was trying to write it down, but I noticed when I was making them, I don't do it the same way every time. So I'm working on that. We'll see. I will try to get it, if everybody likes it and they want it, I will try to get that figured out and try to do up a tutorial to where that it works the same way every time. Okay, so that is that. That's just my granny stitch hat with a brim. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see if I had another one here. Yes. This is the same hat, just in a different yarn. This is Red Heart Unforgettable. Let me see if I got the colorway. Oh, that other one was made with a Red Heart Super Saver. I think cherry, and I think one was cherry red, and I think the blue was just blue. I think it's just called blue. Okay. That's what this is, a Red Heart Unforgettable. And this color is called Dragonfly. And it's the exact same pattern as the other. The lion, or the granny stitch with the brim. But this one fits a little bit tighter than the other one, just because of the yarn. So it's the same amount of stitches and everything. It just fits a little tighter to my head. It's a little bit smaller because of the yarn. Okay, so there's that. We'll toss that back over there. And I made up several of these. Like I said, I made them in all different colors. Made my niece one. And this is with a Karen cake. I don't remember the color. I made one for me and one for my niece. This also has yellow, and she wanted one that was mint and yellow. So the section that had the yellow, I made hers, and then I just had extra, so I went ahead and made up another one. Okay, what else is in my little notebook? Let's see. I made up some dragon scale gloves that I was going to take to Comic-Con. And then, again, due to COVID restrictions, Comic-Con was postponed from last year. It's supposed to be coming up again this year. We'll see. But I found lots and lots and lots of patterns for dragon scale gloves online. Lots of tutorials. But they had these scales go all the way around. And I didn't want the scales to go all the way around. So back to my handy dandy little notebook here. And I wrote up my own pattern. And again, the problem with having it being flat on the palm is that the left and the right are different, because you can't make them identical, because then the one hand, the dragon scales will be on the top of the hand, and on the other hand they'll be on the bottom. So I had to figure out a way to write them opposite. Again, I don't have this written up because every time I do it my numbers come up different, but I just kind of make it work. But I did make them in 2 different sizes. And then the top is just a granny stitch. And then the dragon scales are, I think it's called like the crocodile stitch. I've seen a lot of people use it for mermaid tails. But the hand is flat. Here's the other one. And what I did with these, so that the colors would be somewhat consistent, is I bought 2 skeins and made sure that the starting color was the same in both skeins. And then I made a small and a large glove out of each skein. So one glove, or one skein made a small, one small glove, and one large glove. And then the other one, that way they matched. So that the colors, which I mean, you wouldn't have to do this. You could buy just one skein and just let the colors flow, but I kind of wanted them to be somewhat of a pair. So there are those. And again, I made them in all different colors using different types of yarn. This is the large, and this was made with, let me show you what I'm talking about. Like if I used the same pattern for both, there would be no scales on the top and the scales would be on the bottom. So there's definitely a right and a left hand. But this was used Roll With It Melange by Red Heart. When it goes up the arm, and I used my my 2 sons as my hand models for these to get the size. Same, I just used the granny stitch, and these are my scales. And the palm of the hand is bigger, and it's also wider. So I mean, I guess, you know, you have little hands and you wanted it to cover more of your hand, you could go with the larger size. But so that is that. Okay, so back to the notebooks. So I write everything in these. My friends know this, so they also buy me notebooks when they see them. Now this one doesn't have lines. Most of them that I get have lines. This one's just plain. But it works really good, so if I have an idea in my head, I can sketch it out and draw it up and then try to come up with a pattern to go along with it. This notebook, this little journal, I bought yesterday because it says B-E-E, Be Fearless. And it's got the little B like I spell with my BeeCreative. Really don't know why I came up with that. I think because BeeCreative B-E was already taken, maybe? I don't know. But also I draw up these little like cartoon bees. And so that was going to be my logo if I ever finally get around to it and finish it. But again, this is just so I can write down my ideas. I keep little notebooks in my purse, so whenever I'm thinking about it, I just pick it up. I also picked this one up yesterday. I like the ones with the little closure. As you see, these are brand spanking new and they have nothing written in them. But I write down blog ideas, craft ideas, whatever pops in my head that I want to use these for, and for writing up my patterns. Okay, what else have I been working on? Okay, so this here is the Lost Souls blanket, and I was using a tutorial by Fiber Spider. I will leave a link. I've only made up the one square. He's got one where it is continuous, so it's just skull, 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 skull. And then there's this one where you can make up several squares and then sew them all together. But I was going to make up a tablecloth or a throw. Wasn't really sure. But anyway, I just wanted to see how hard it would be to follow that pattern. So that's one thing that I had finished up. Like I said, it's just the one square, so I have a lot more squares to make, but that is one thing. Any item that I show y'all that I used a specific pattern or tutorial, I will link it in the description box below. That way you can go find it. So this is the Lost Souls Afghan, I believe is how he called it. He also has a Lost Souls shawl that he does a tutorial for. But anyway, I will leave the link for this here in the description box. What else do I have? Oh. Okay, this is my super scrappy blanket. I did a blog on this a while back, so if any of you follow my blog, you've already seen this blanket, but it started out with the Sophie's Universe pattern or tutorial, which started out with a circle, which then goes to a square. And then it kind of morphed into the Twisted Granny to make it into a bigger square, because in the Sophie's Universe, it goes from circle to square to like an octagon-ish shape, I think. I think it goes to octagon, or anyway, it goes to several more sides, and then it goes back to square. And I didn't want this to be quite that big. I was just going for just a fun throw, and I was using up scrap yarn, and I wanted it to be rectangle. It twisted right so y'all can see. Okay. So I took the Twisted Granny and I just made it work so that it took that center square and turned it into a diamond, and then it went around and made the giant square. Okay. And then I took a mosaic in the round, and I really don't remember what this, I think this is just the Aztec mosaic stitch, but I went all the way around with it in the round, creating this little Z pattern, these little Z's, just to make it a little bit bigger and to give it a border. Then I went into this, which is I think called the Drunken Granny, which is just, or Topsy-Turvy Granny. I don't know, it's just a stitch that I found in one of my stitch books. It's not a pattern by anybody in particular, it's just a, you'll see it. It's just little granny clusters. Some go this way, some go this way. But those I did not go all the way around. I just went back and forth. I just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which was to help create my rectangle. Okay, this super bright here, you can't tell it, but it is a basket weave. Zoom in here. But this yarn is so busy that you really just lose the basket weave. You can kind of see it here. Stripe, stripe, and then they're going this way. And then this way. But it's a very busy pattern, so the basket weave was not the greatest stitch to use with this such a busy yarn. This yarn would have been better just doing straight rows. Okay. And then I switched off for the last and went back to going all the way around. I think I did a couple, I think this red, I don't think this red was part of that pattern. I think it was just something I gave to give it the separation, but it could be. And then this part, I do believe was from All in the Family on Crochet Crowd by Mikey. So I will have to go back and double check. I'll have to go back on my blog and make sure that I'm giving y'all the correct information. But if this is something different, I will leave the correct link for that, for where I got these stitch combinations in the description box. But I'm pretty sure it was the All in the Family Crochet Along. And it wasn't in any particular order. I just was watching. I'm like, oh, I think I'll do this section here. And then I just finished it off with I think I just did a single crochet border all the way around just to finish it off. And but yeah, this is just my Scrappy. I just had a bunch of scraps and just wanted to make up something. So this is what I came up with. So it's like my boho Scrappy blanket. Throw that over there. What else do I have here? I've got a Stitch Maker program for cross stitch. And that's what I use to make up my filet crochet patterns and also my graphicans. And this one is another one that I had started that I was going to take to Comic-Con, and I was going to make it as a wall hanging. And I was working on it when we got word last year that it was going to be postponed. So I decided to set it aside and work on other projects, and I just haven't gotten back to it, which I really need to do because as of right now, Comic-Con is still on for this year. So I really need to get back to it and finish it. Otherwise, I won't have it ready to sell. But this is going to be a dragon when I'm done with it. And it's going to be quite a bit larger than I anticipated for it to be. And I think when I get it done, I will stretch it and then mount it maybe on a piece of black felt or black fleece, because the yarn really sticks well to that. But there's his tail, and you can see the start of his wings. But yeah, I just designed this in my cross stitch pattern maker. And then instead of cross stitching it, I'm using it as filet crochet. If you've never tried filet crochet, it's super easy. If you can do a chain and a double crochet, then you can fillet. Because really it's just you create the mesh by doing a double crochet and then a chain 2, and then you skip 2 chains and then you do a double crochet, and then each, to make the pattern or to make the design stand out, you just do instead of doing a chain 2, you actually do the double crochet into that spot. So that's that. And again, this has taken a super long time because I'm using thread, which is so thin, instead of yarn. Alright. Toss that over there. What else do I have? Okay. So that was another work in progress. What else do I have? I'll show you one more item that I have finished. And again, this was another item that I made for Comic-Con. And it's specifically for the Nashville Comic-Con. I do need to make up a couple more of these to sell. I just haven't. Now, this was a labor of love, let me tell you. It took me forever to write up this pattern because I'm very particular and I wanted my stars to look right. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. Your pattern has to be detailed enough to make the stars look right, and I wanted it to look right on the front side and the back side. The only thing on the back side that doesn't look right is the spelling of the word, because obviously on the back side it's reversed. But when I got done with this one, when I was crocheting it, I could not tell there was any difference in dye lots. You couldn't tell there was a difference at all in the color. But once I got it finished, I could, which was a bummer. So this one was going to be my display and not one for sale, unless somebody just absolutely positively wants it. So if I want to have any to sell at Comic-Con, I'm going to have to make some more, and I'm going to have to make sure that all of my dye lots match. Now, what did I use for yarn color? I used yarn color, or I used different yarns. The majority of it is, I love this yarn. The black was some Caron Simply Soft that I had in black, and as you will see, or maybe you'll be able to see it when I hold it up, they did not match. They were slightly different. Yeah, see? But when you're looking at it, not in outdoor light, those both look like they're the same color black. And not darker. But anyway, so make sure I've got this turned right, and I will stand up and show y'all what this looks like. Okay, now again, this is for specifically for Comic-Con in Nashville, because it is the Nashville skyline, and I took a photograph of my parents from a Titans game with a skyline behind them, and I pulled them out, and then I just used the skyline to create the bottom portion of this blanket. And then this is the Tennessee flag. Now this yellow is coming across super duper bright. It's really a soft butter yellow, like this here. This yellow here and this yellow here are the same. I think it's called butter, but so there's that. Now I'll stand up and try to show y'all more of it. But this, if any of y'all are familiar with Nashville, is what we call the Bat Building here, which is really the AT&T building. But we always call it the Bat Building, so I thought that would be just a cool take to create something different just for Comic-Con. And then that is the Nashville skyline, and then Nashville. Okay. And here is the back side. Okay, so there's that, and then again I created this pattern in my cross stitch stitch maker pattern maker. I will look up the name and I'll put the name of the pattern maker that I use. Like I said, it is for cross stitch though, so if you're looking for something that's going to give you specific crochet stitches, then this pattern maker is not for you. If you're looking for something that's just going to let you create graphs and grids, then this will work great for you, because it has all of the cross stitch thread colors. So I mean, there are hundreds of colors that you can choose from to create whatever design pattern you want. And then you just have to know when you go to the store to buy your yarn, or if you go online to buy your yarn, you're not going to find that exact name for that color, because it is the DMC floss names, and not. And then there are also other floss colors as well in that maker. But anyway, so that's that. Alrighty, I have two more items to show y'all. Now this. Okay, the basket weave in my boho blanket is the same yarn that I used for this one, and in this one it's a C2C, and it's looking like puzzle pieces, which I think was making it look super cool looking. I had ran out of the yarn, and so I had to order some more, and by the time I finally got it in, I'd already moved on to other projects and I had not come back to this one. Again, this is another one that I created in my program. And this one is not as detailed because I can make the bigger. In the other one, each square in that program is a single crochet. In this one, each square is a C2C block. So it's more pixelated. But this one, again, is not finished. But that yarn gives the look of a puzzle piece in the background. And it just says piece. And in the center, sorry, y'all, have tons of, this is my big tangly mess of, because I had so many balls of yarn going at one time. But it will be a peace symbol when it is done, and it will say peace underneath it. So I know, I need to get back to it and finish it. But that's, so if you've never done C2C, that's what this is. Corner to corner. So I have finished the width section of it, so that is how wide it will be. And so now I'm still working on the height, and it'll work back up and it'll finish up in the corner. But, so that's that. Oh, and this is the back side. Anyway, so that's the back. It should all look the same with the exception of the wording will be flip-flopped. Okay, so there's that. And for anybody wanting to know, that color is called Blacklight. And it is by Red Heart Super Saver. It is a super busy yarn. It is bright neon, and I absolutely love, love, love it. Just because I like bright neon colors. There's that. And lastly, what I want to show y'all is a blanket that I'm currently working on for my brother. And this is, I'm making this using more scrap yarn that I inherited from my grandmother. It was given to me, my aunt gave it to me after my grandmother passed away. And I've tried to make blankets for different family members using that yarn. So if somebody's had a baby, I've tried to incorporate part of that yarn into the blankets that I've made for their kids, because my grandmother always made baby blankets for all of the grandkids when they were born. And so I wanted to try to continue that for as long as I could using up her yarn. Now I may not have had enough to make it complete, but I've tried to incorporate some of it in each blanket. Now my brother recently lost his house to a fire, so all of his blankets and everything that she had made for him, he lost. So I had already made him one scrap blanket before his house had burned, and I didn't realize that part of that blanket he was able to salvage, and I believe my mother is going to bring it back, and I'm going to try to incorporate more of that yarn into this blanket, just so that he has a whole blanket. But anyway, so I am using the Nordic Stripes blanket tutorial off of the Yarn Inspirations. It may have even been originally on the Red Heart, I'm not sure, but I'm using it off of Yarn Inspirations, and Mikey at the Crochet Crowd is the one that has done the tutorial. Now this is the back side. It just makes a striped, because it's a mosaic pattern, so the back side is striped. So there's a different front and back. And then this is the, around here. And then this is the front. Whoa. And it creates this really cool mosaic stripe. Now, I am making this blanket rather large, and it is going to go actually this way, and I'm making it large enough, I think, to where it will fit a queen size bed, or if he wants to lay it on his couch or whatever. But I wanted it to be a pretty good size blanket that he would be able to use. Right now, it is, right now this way, holding it up this way, it is as wide as a twin size mattress and almost as long. This way is almost as long as the twin size mattress. It probably about, like where the pillow is at, is where it stops. So, I mean, it's going to be a fairly wide blanket when it's done. And then I'm going to make at least 2 more of these panels in the mosaic, just using up different colors of yarn. Now I have ripped back several sections of this because you could not see the actual design, because I'm using a gray. I'm using it from I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby as the constant, and that's just something that I had in my stash. And it, like this here, this pale green, this pale minty green, I started with that but the two are so close, you couldn't see the pattern design. So I ripped that back out and changed it up to this peachy color instead to get started with. But, so yeah, y'all, that is what is off the hook this week. I don't know when my next one will be. Hopefully my next one won't be as long. I know this one's super wordy, but I just wanted y'all to kind of get an idea of where I was going with this. I also have started making some stitch markers because I wanted something a little bit small. So maybe on my next episode, I will show y'all some of those that I've made. I was going to show you this time, but this video is like super long and y'all are probably like, stop yapping, enough already. So, yeah, I hope y'all have enjoyed it. And if you stuck around this long, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If y'all would please give me a big old thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd greatly appreciate it. Share if you can. Let all your friends know that I'm here and I just like to talk about nothingness. So if that's something that they're interested in, come on over. Yeah, so thanks again for watching. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.